Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my power ranking series. For my number 18 team, we're going to be looking at the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, so it's a little interesting. This team did show some incredible grit to make it to the playoffs. I would be surprised if they could do it again, especially now with how difficult this division has gotten. For the actual grouping itself, we have Colton Miller on the left tackle. He's pretty close to getting a star grade from me. I wanted to see another year of consistency, but I do like him a lot as a left tackle. I think that's going to be the only piece on this line that you really don't have to worry about performing. I expect he will perform pretty well. You have Elamumar and Denzel Good as your guards. This is not overly good. I'm not ecstatic about this idea. I think they're going to get abused by some of the more dominant pass rushers that have come to this division of late. We do know that Khalil Mack is not afraid of kicking inside on a stunt, and if this guy gets matched up with Good on the right side there, it's just going to be over. Now, you did get some good rookies. You got Donald Parham and Munford, who I actually did like, and I can see some good fits here. I'd actually like to move Parham to center here if that's a feasible thing for him. I'd have to see how he moves in that spot. He was kind of a versatile kind of Swiss Army knife of an offensive player when he was doing his tests and his drills. So I think they'll probably leave him at guard just to see how he performs there initially. But I think my goal if I was managing this team would be to eventually move him to center and replace Andre James. Mumford, I do think will stay at guard, and I expect him to actually perform decently well. I think he was a bit of a sleeper later pickup for them. But as you see, basically all three parts of the interior here are either replaceable level starters or below average. So you can kind of see where they're going to be getting beat quite often. Right tackle, Parker, again, that's another lower end tackle. Maybe he steps up this year and you get what replaceable level starter tackle play. I mean that's what you're hoping for. And you loved. I had to put a big thanks Gruden in there for the Alex Leatherwood pick that I roasted on the day of. I had a third or fourth round grade on him as tackle, and it was a late third just because I didn't like the depth later on. It was rough, and the fact that he is not starting here either at guard or tackle is concerning. That they already don't think that very highly of him. So clearly the development track's not there. Gotta give one big thanks to John Gruden for screwing that up, well up. But hopefully the Raiders are on a better track now. I think they are at least. Especially with the extension to Derek Carr. Carr played really well last year. He's also really close to getting that star. I got like him and Dak are always like right on the line for me. I go up and down on giving them that category, but Carr's like right there, just kind of on the outskirts of maybe that top 10 quarterback categories. If you guys are going by that, I usually go by tiers, but if you're going by numbers, he'd be right on the outside of top 10. Uh, he's just very quality. He'll play in structure. He usually takes what is given to him. Every now and then, you do wish he will take more of a gambler shot, and he has gotten better at that last season. It seems like after that injury, he was kind of just afraid to take the shot and go downfield, give a guy a one-on-one chance. But last season, he started doing more of it, and I think I would expect to see that to continue here in this Josh McDaniels offense, even though it is more designed to take these more shorter routes, the screens and stuff like that. But I think Carr is one of the better quarterbacks you could have, and you could do a lot worse having him as your starting quarterback. All right, backfield and receivers, actually some decent talent here. Hunter Renfro just did get paid. It was a short-term contract, but he is a premier slot. Again, slots have a bit of an interesting value. It's always like not quite star worthy. There's very few guys who ever get the star for me. He's close. He's honestly close to getting it from me. So we'll see. He might just earn it mid-season. I would not be surprised. He's also great on special teams. They went and grabbed Keelan Cole as well. I think he's kind of an underrated fourth wide receiver. He does well in these little Swing him out wide, push someone else you want interior. So like Devontae Adams, who they just traded for, that was an excellent trade to pair him back with Carr. If you want to move Devontae Adams on the inside because you like that matchup better, pushing Keelan Cole to the outside is a totally viable thing to do, and I like that idea a lot. So they had some good pieces here at wide receiver now. Darren Waller still here, still doing production. He's a great receiving threat. Uh, he's still very underpaid for what he is doing. He's got a very good hometown discount going for the Raiders, who kind of helped him get his career going. So if you're a Raiders fan, you're definitely thankful for that. Moreau's in that kind of a nice backup here, just in case, break glass in case Waller's down kind of idea. Running back room, it is interesting. Josh Jacobs did get his fifth-year option declined. I don't think they're looking at paying him. I'd be a little surprised. Maybe if they think they can get him a little cheaper, maybe they will look at it. But Josh Jacobs is always just a very consistently good running back. He sits in that 14 to 20 category. I'm trying to use numbers because again, I usually use tiers, but he's consistently good. He puts up good numbers. He breaks tackles. He pushes forward. He keeps the chains moving, so to speak. So you actually like him a lot as a running back. Kenyon Drake was not utilized nearly enough for what they're paying him. It's kind of his last year. It's kind of from an old regime, so I wouldn't be surprised if they let him go. But he's kind of the third down back here. He's used for these more gadget plays, the receiving back role, kind of offering a bit of a receiving, rushing combo to kind of keep the defense guessing a little bit more. But they did draft Zamir White. I didn't have him up front because I don't know how often he'll play year one. But I would not be surprised if the plan is to let Drake and Jacobs go after this year, and then you let Zamir White take over afterwards. I did think very highly of him as a running back. So I would not be surprised if that's what we see moving forward. Or if you even see maybe a kind of a split back system later on in the season where he starts getting more reps moving forward. I do like that idea. All right, defensive front seven. This is where they spent they spent money here, but it's still rough. We'll talk about the great pieces first. Max Crosby, elite. I love this pick when it happened. He's even surpassed what my expectations were of him. I thought he would just be kind of a solid number two option. He is showing that he can break that mold very easily. He's been extremely good when it comes to pressures and hurries. He was kind of a sack fiend early on, and he's still got good sack numbers. But I definitely would value what he brings off that. It'd be right side for most people registering, even though it's the left side when you're looking at the defense side. But he's rushing right in front of that quarterback's face most times. So most times quarterbacks want to run out to the side where their body's facing, and most quarterbacks being right-handed are going to be rushing out towards where Max Crosby is. Uh, and that becomes a problem. There's actually a great clip. I wish I could show it to you, but again, copyright issues. There's a great clip of Lamar Jackson doing exactly that and just immediately having problems because Max Crosby really will not let you get the edge. And that's one of the premier scramblers. So if Max Crosby does that there, like that shows that it is really difficult to get around him, especially when he's watching for it. And now you're pairing that with, albeit an older Chandler Jones, but he's still talented. He still does show the talent. You can see it in early season often. He does trail off as the season goes on. That's the age showing up, but he's still a very good talent. I imagine he will probably be losing this star grade on I have on him within, I don't know, a year or two, but maybe you get a Robert Quinn out of him where he's still super productive. He can be a decent number two edge here with Max Crosby taking most of the focus on the edge. And if they can have that go on, if you get Robert Quinn level play out of him for the last like year or two of his contract, I think that's a huge win for the Raiders. That's a very good pass rushing duo. Now, linebackers, I only had two I even wanted to talk about. Jayon Brown is kind of interesting to me. There was a time where he was pretty good, like he was rated, he could have gotten some decent money going into free agency. Now it's more of a toss up. He plays the more the passing down off ball linebacker role. They were gonna be running a 3-4 here more than likely, so it's he fits what he's going to be doing here, but again, I don't know if he'll reach that height again. It's a gamble, but this is definitely a worthwhile gamble for the Raiders. They have Denzel Perryman that they're matching him with. Solid vet at this point, replaceable level starter to just average starter quality. There's not much more to say about this duo. I expect they'll probably do what they're asked. However, I don't expect that they will overcome much adversity, if any, if it's really thrown at their face. Now in the D line, you have Vernon Butler and Big John Hankins are here. They're just kind of decent role players. The one I'm more interested in is Bilal Nichols. I really like him potentially lining up at 3 tech here and offering more of that pass rush from the interior. They're still quite light on the interior. I imagine they'll still struggle every now and then with a more downhill rushing attack. But even with that said, they still played pretty stout, and the players that they did pick up will also emulate that despite being a little lighter. So I think the big one here to watch is Bilal Nichols, but this front it hasn't changed too much. The biggest name grabbing was Chandler Jones. If anything, they have gotten a little weaker or more or less the same. Defensive backs. This is intriguing. So they have Trayvon Merrick and Tyree Gillespie. I liked Gillespie a decent bit. Merrick, I was definitely a little lower on. I liked him in a bit of a different role than how they actually have deployed him. I think they're not using the things he was already talented as to their full extent. But maybe that'll change now that McDaniels is coming in, and they're kind of instilling a more of a 3-3-5 approach or a 3-4 approach. So we'll see how that works. I think that Mary could finally start using all the talent I did see on film a little more now than he was prior. So there is some hope, at least at the like free safety or safety 3 looks here with those two. Abram, I don't have much of a hope for. I thought he was a bit of a reach when he was taken that early by the Raiders a few years ago, and I really don't expect he will all of a sudden overcome that. So I will leave it at that. He plays the box safety role. He plays downhill very hard. He throws his body into every tackle. You give some credit for that, but that often is also what takes him out of the play or takes him out of the game. He gets hurt a lot. So I don't have my hopes really high for Abram finally piecing it together this late. Cornerbacks, they traded for Rock Ya-Sin. I was a little neutral on that. I actually think the Colts got the better deal getting Yannick Ngakoue. I know that technically the Raiders didn't need Ngakoue anymore after getting Chandler Jones, but still, I would have rather collected something a little more valuable. Maybe Rock Ya-Sin can finally put it together in this last year and prove me wrong, but I would not say so. He's kind of showing he's been kind of a steady, off ball, very just solid corner. I don't think that changes much here. Darius Phillips is a little interesting. I do like that signing behind him. I think he's shown he can also be that very solid cornerback 4. So bringing him in case of injury or to play a bit of nickel if need be, I'm totally fine with that. I thought that was a smart move. They do have Mullen. Mullen grades out decently well. I haven't seen too much rewatching on the film. He just seems to be kind of in that. I was talking about that Rock Ya-Sin, just kind of okay, knows how he plays that off ball, can do a little bit of press, at least with Mullen. I'd hope that this is the year that I really see the flashing, because so far I haven't seen too many. Uh, but the stats do back up the solid cornerback play that he has graded as. I would say everything kind of points that he is at least a decent, number 2 or number 3 cornerback. I don't think you could take that away from him at least. They did bring Anthony Averett as well, coming from the Ravens. He definitely fits this more man idea a lot more. So he does fit the scheming. I don't know how much I'll expect he'll play. But again, if injuries do come, I think you could do a lot worse. I think he does have enough talent to play fill-in corner. The biggest question is Nate Hobbs. He's shown good talent at slot. Like they showed it last year. My biggest issue with him is that he seems to be a magnet for trouble. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but after the Henry Ruggs debacle, for him to then also get into like the exact same issues of impaired driving and then also get attention from the law. It's just after what has happened and this team, just binding themselves together to push forward, for him to still be kind of an outlier in that in his rookie campaign as well, it has me worried. It has me worried that we're going to see another talented player shorten their career way too early through some poor choices. So I hope, for his sake and for others, that he does clean it up moving forward. It'd be a shame if he ends up doing the exact same thing Ruggs does, because he was putting himself in that position. All right, special teams and coaching. Special teams. I expect these special teams will play pretty tough. I was disappointed they let the interim head coach Bisaccia go. I think Green Bay definitely benefited the most from that, but I would have made sure to keep him in that special teams coordinator role. They clearly like the new guy they grabbed. I'll be hesitant on it, but they've shown that they can get these guys playing pretty well on special teams and really fit in these roles pretty well. So I'll kind of push that idea for now, and I'll watch the first few games of the season to see how their special teams play. But I'd expect they'll be, if maybe a little tier lower, but still pretty solid. The teamers themselves, Daniel Carlson's really turned his career around in these last few years. He's shown to be a pretty solid and reliable kicker. Cole as well, pretty solid punter as well. It's just utterly solid. There's not too many gaps in how they do things. You can rely Cole to get the ball within the 20 when it should be a reasonable punt for him. You can rely on Carlson to make, the longer kicks, or the more gimme kicks as well, when need be. The missing rates for him, it hasn't been too bad these last little while. So you are happy with that. I already talked about special teams. So let's talk about offensive and defensive coordinators. They have Lombardi as their offensive coordinator. I'm okay with it. Although I think we all know that McDaniels will probably be taking the reins a little tighter than some other coaching staffs will for their offensive coordinator. It is his offensive scheme they will be implementing, and I imagine he will be doing a good portion of play calling as well. So I imagine Lombardi's role here would be more or less to just help organize, maybe do a couple calls every now and then. It'd be more just a occasional relief for McDaniel's calling than anything. So I expect McDaniel's offensive scheme will be the primary go-to here. Defensive coordinator, getting Patrick Graham, I think is actually underrated. I actually like Patrick Graham coming here. I think him coming here with his 3-3-5, 3-4 scheme is a good idea. I think he can actually utilize a good portion of the players he has here to their maximal capability. So I'm super excited to see what he does. I think this is a bit of a make or break for him because he was up and down with the Giants. That defense had so much potential, and he did deploy them well despite not always having the best talent around him. I think he would have done excellent with the guys they got now. But I think it's exciting. This is exciting to see what he'll do, and I think McDaniels was smart to go get a guy who was a steady up and comer to take the defensive role while he can more focus on the offense and leading the team. Now, McDaniels himself is a bit of an interesting person. I haven't gotten too much from him when I was kind of talking around and doing some poking, seeing what people think of him. It's interesting to think about, but it's also not surprising. The Patriots organization is very tight knit and very closed doors. They kind of keep everything behind them, and they really don't let a lot come out. McDaniels was temporarily, I think it was the Colts, if I remember correctly, a few years ago, was supposed to be their head coach. Then he reverted back, which was kind of a crappy thing. So for him to now take the Raiders spot, and it seems like he is here now, so there's no going back. I don't know, it just left a bad taste in my mouth to think back on it. He does seem like he is talented. He's worked on very talented teams, at least, with a very talented coaching staff. Usually these Patriots guys, they have a hit or miss on whether they work going to a new system, right? We have Vrabel, who absolutely was a hit. And then you have stuff like, Patricia with the Lions, and that is a complete mess, like just a mess of an organization. So we'll see which one he's going to lean towards. I think he'll probably lean towards just keeping this team afloat and okay. He came to a very tough division, which I think will make him look a little worse than maybe he actually is performing as. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this goes south quite quickly. This is something we're going to have to watch not only early on, but you'll have to watch those last 4 weeks to see how the team's stamina is doing, see if they still have the same drive. All right, so basically, the Raiders are flipping this whole team around, and they shelled out big for these big name players. You know, trading for Devontae Adams, you know, the premier wide receiver, going to sign Chandler Jones, like stuff like that. That is huge moves for an organization to do, and it clearly states that they do want to compete within this really tough division. It's it's just hard for me to fully buy in when I can see so many glaring holes with a brand new coaching staff in this division. It's hard for me to buy in. So I think they'll be good, but I don't think they'll be enough. I don't expect them to be in contention for the playoffs this year. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. Later.